Friends, welcome to Katy Needs a Podcast, the official Katy Needs a Life podcast. Today, we didn't really prepare, so I asked my brother what we should talk about, and he said DIY recording spaces. But before we get into that, let's all introduce ourselves. My name is Katy May, and I'm that Katy.
My name is David, and I'm David.
My name is Reggie, and I am not David.
My name is Jake, and I'm that Katy.
How are you all doing? It's been like a week since we talked.
Good.
We're good.
I forgot how to drink beer, apparently.
That's tragic.
Every time I set it down, I'm getting beer fizz all over my DIY recording gear.
Wait, so you forgot how to set beer down wrong?
Yeah. I feel like that's just as important as drinking the
You're
beer
drinking
itself.
it just fine.
That's arguable.
Oh.
Did you get into anything this last week? Get into anything fun or unusual?
I beat Ghost Recon Breakpoint last night after like 200 hours into the game.
I got a new amp yesterday, which is big news. That was sweet. I'm very happy with that. And as soon as we got back from the store with the amp, Lauren got a call from the police that a vehicle had crashed through her work. Somebody cut somebody else off on Park Street, and just this like trailblazer crashed through the wall of her work building. So we had to go down there and deal with that for a little bit. It was actually incredibly eventful.
I was playing Wreckfest, which is like this demolition derby game. It's amazing. I had just downloaded it the other night, and I had like just started playing it. I was on a menu, and I just hear this like car grinding like metal sound, and I'm like, what the hell was that? Went outside to take a look, and some drunk girl just smashed into a parked car, which unfortunately happened to be Julia's friend, who was over at Julia's house. They were all sitting on their porch. But that kind of sucked. I kind of feel like I willed that into existence by playing the demolition derby game. I'm sorry.
I've been noticing people are worse drivers lately. I think that they've taken some time away from driving, and they just don't know how to do it.
I mean, I've taken a lot of time away from driving. I'd probably be terrible.
Did you? I didn't know you ever drove.
I've had my permit a couple times. Does that count?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were behind the wheel, you drove.
Yeah, I drove back from Tennessee one time when my ex was sick. That was fun.
I'm thinking of when I had a permit. I don't think I could have driven back from Tennessee at that point.
Oh, it was scary. There was one point where this giant-ass truck was just, like, riding my ass on the highway, and I'm going, like, 80. Like, I'm driving on a permit out of state, going 80 down the highway. This, like, semi is just, like, riding my ass. So I just, like, kept going faster because, like, I tried moving over to let it around, and it just got back behind me. So I was, like, going about 120 at one point.
You ever see that movie Joyride?
No.
I think you almost got joyrided.
Oh,
Joyrided.
Joyridden.
Joy Road?
Joy Road.
Yeah, Joyride. Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Today we're going to talk about DIY recording spaces. It is something that anyone can do if they have the right tools and right knowledge about what to get. We're going to talk about the range of them, from a basic, like, I've got a computer, I've got an interface, I've got a microphone, all the way to a more in-depth home studio.
Depends on what you're looking into. If you're trying to do recordings at home, are you looking to record yourself? Are you looking to record other bands? If you're looking to record yourself and you're not doing things like drums and you're primarily recording one instrument at a time, a simple 2 to 4 channel interface will do great. Focusrite makes a few in the Scarlett series. It's not too expensive. I think Behringer has some. There's really like a whole under the $500 range. And even further down, there's a plethora of options, and they're all kind of the same. The ones that are bad are pretty bad, but the They're all just kind of midline, like they don't, not even midline. They don't. It's not going to be spectacular, but with some work and a decent, knowledge of mixing, you can record, one to two instruments at a time and mix them in a way that sounds good and palatable. Or not palatable, or horrible. It could be whatever you want it to be. But, those interfaces are fairly cheap. Just need a microphone. SM57s are a classic instrument mic. You can find those used for like $50. SM58s are okay for vocals, but they're virtually the same as the 57. If you're looking to move up from there, what do you all use? Katy, I know you use a Scarlett 2i4.
Sure, whatever. Yeah, let me see.
I got whatever this one is.
Yeah, I use a Scarlett 2i4.
Okay, 2i4. Now that should be 2 inputs, 4 outputs, and I believe 2 midis. And I think those are like $300 around there, $400.
I think I got mine for about like 200 from like Guitar Center or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you guys use though?
Oh, I don't. I use whatever microphones got left in my basement after having shows here, and I got for my interface. I have an Audio Box USB I bought for like, I want to say around $200, like maybe like 10 years ago.
I've had a couple over the years, but for interfaces right now, I've got the Focusrite Sapphire Pro 40s. I've got 2 of those linked together so that I can individually record each instrument and drums when we have band practice. So it gives me 16 inputs, which is more than I need the majority of the time. But if I want to record drums or record, our 4-piece band or our 6-piece band, I can do that. I have a lot of different microphones, but if I had to just purchase one, I'd probably get like an Audio-Technica condenser mic, like the 2020 or the 2035. I think you could get away with recording most things with that. I've got the microphone I was gonna use was the Audio-Technica 2035, but I just use this instead because it's an easier setup for this.
I'm also using a Pro 40 or Sapphire Pro 40, and then before that I would use a Tascam FW1804, which isn't bad. I recorded a couple hundred bands with those, but they're still updated, and those you can get for like $80 now. It's 8 inputs or 8 analog inputs, I think 4 XLR, 4 TRS, and then it has another 8 with light pipe. But those Sapphire Pro 40s are great, and I think those are around like $300, and those are another 8, like actual 8 preamps, 8 XLR inputs.
Both of mine I got used for like, I want to say like 150 each. You can find them everywhere used, super cheap.
Yeah, and they're pretty old too. They're Firewire, so that might, well, no, you can get a Firewire to Thunderbolt adapter too to use it with Macs and more modern computers, but yeah, they're not bad. And then above that, you're looking at the actual Universal Audio and decent, more expensive units, RME.
It's a big price jump after that.
It's a big price jump, but like those units sound amazing though. That's the thing. That's what's frustrating about it. There's a big price jump. Same with microphones. Like a SM58 sounds okay in a live situation, but it's not going to sound so good recorded. Something like this SM7B is a broadcast mic. It's probably the cheapest, like really good quality vocal mic I can think of, or at least one that has like a wide kind of net. It sounds good on a lot of instruments. It sounds good on a lot of different kinds of vocals, especially loud or heavy vocals. I think they're around like $400 or so. They're on par with mics that are worth $1,000. They're good microphones.
So we all started somewhere, right now we're all in our 30s and we've been playing music for a long time. For most of that time, we've been able to record it. Reggie, what was your first DIY recording?
This interface that I am currently using and my micro Korg, and that's about it.
What was the project that you did first DIY?
Well, my brother-in-law Matt and I, back when we were like 20, 21 and stuff, just using GarageBand and I don't know what mics. I'm one of those terrible people that I don't know gear. I'm just like, oh, that's a microphone, that'll work.
Jake, what was your first DIY recording and what band was it for?
I had a band, I want to say I was coming out of middle school. I had a band with my cousin called Linoleum Roses. I know we recorded a couple things on like a little like tape recorder, like literally you stick the tape in and hit record kind of deal. Eventually, I don't know if he got it or if I got it, but we ended up with a little red digital Tascam recorder that was like a 4-track or something like that. And eventually I started recording songs in my bedroom with that, and I recorded tons of stuff with that little thing. I don't remember what the model was or anything about it. I remember it was red, it was Tascam, and it required more knowledge than the equipment I use now.
David, what about you?
Well, I think technically the first thing I ever recorded was we plugged like a microphone into a Digitech RP7 guitar multi-effects processor, one of those blue ones with the pedal and stuff, and just turned every effect on and then plugged that into a boombox. So it was just chaos and nothing.
Good.
And then we sold that for like $5. But the first thing I actually, I guess the first DIY recording that I tried to do was I bought, so ADATs, they use this tape that looked like VHS tapes that were really weird. And it was just 8 channels of audio, and I had 2 of them, so there was 16 because you could chain them together. And then I bought like a 16-channel Behringer board and a cheap set of Samson drum mics and I think some like 57s. And then I would make additional kick drum mics out of reverse wiring speakers.
I just did that with stuff I've been recording recently. We get a lot of like busted or maybe not busted speakers in at the scrapyard, and if they look decent enough, I'd hang on to them. And there's like a big it's probably way too big. It's like a 15-inch like Bose speaker that came in, and I figured I'd give it a shot as a sub-kick mic, and I used that on the most recent recordings I did. It works pretty well.
The first thing that I recorded was in like 6th grade because like my dad had a recording studio. He had like a mixing board, like an old Alesis one. He had some microphones and he had some drum machines and a couple of keyboards. So one of my friends came over. I had written this really melodramatic song called The Dedicated Song, and it was pretty much like this guy, we were like dating, but now I'm like seeing him in the halls with like some other girl and he's like holding her hand. Okay, so I did a talent show that year because the CD was a success, okay? They didn't turn my mic on. And so everybody was like, that was a really good song to the other girl, and she took all the credit.
I think the first time I actually ever tried recording, it was at home when I was in high school, probably like my junior or senior year, on one of those like shitty like karaoke things, like the cassette guys. I'd just like plug my guitar right into it, and I had like one of those like, I think it was like Digitech like RP200 or something, and it had like the crappy little drum loop thing you could just push the button and do. It was terrible.
When I was in high school, my brother set up an old desktop with a really old version of Cubase. And once again, we used my dad's like microphones and a couple other things to kind of get it set up, but we mostly just used a really small interface that I think came with something, like it wasn't something that they bought. That did decent. Like I did a CD in high school that I recorded the whole thing that way. But I also would do tapes and stuff using this old like 70s handheld tape recorder and a boombox and just like feed them into each other. So it was like really annoying to listen to, but kind of pretty.
I did that with the crappy karaoke machine. I'd have 2 cassettes, so I'd record a part into one cassette, and then I'd flip decks, push record on the other one while I'm playing the other one, and be like, okay, add a guitar part, and like, oh god, don't do that.
I used the very first light version of Cubase from 2006 when I bought my first like real interface until 3 years ago, right before we started recording the last Little Ghost record. So when I updated to the Sapphire. So I got the Sapphire, and then I decided I would stop using Cubase Lite 1, and I updated to Cubase 5, which is what I still use and am recording this on currently.
Whatever Cubase I used had to have been like 2000, so maybe the first or second iteration of Cubase, and that was pretty bad. But then again, everything was pretty bad then. I use Pro Tools. It's the yearly subscription isn't horrible, and it's not bad. It's good software. I mean, if you're looking for cheap though, because I mean you need an interface, you need microphones, you need software. So the software that you can get, I mean, if you're looking to not spend much money, Reaper is free or like has a very cheap buy-in if you want to remove ads and stuff or whatever it is they do. Maybe I can't remember what Reaper does. I think they just bother you. Yeah, Reaper's a good software. It takes VSTs, which is a form of plugins that is sort of universal except for in Pro Tools. And a lot of companies make free VST plugins like KVR Audio that are downloadable and are like emulations of classic synths and reverb units and stuff. That is a good way to go.
When David and I went and got food earlier, I was telling him about what we were going to talk about tonight, and I was like, you should probably prepare. And he looked at me and said, "Are you sure you want to do this? This is the only thing I know everything about."
I was certainly thinking when we started, like, this is a David episode for sure.
Oh yeah, I don't really know much about what I'm talking about. I just trial and error.
The thing about it to me is that, like, a lot of people are really intimidated about starting their own recording setup. And even though we all have our own studio spaces and they're not free, we started very, very cheaply, and like we've built our way up to this. A lot of people just want to know how to get into it and what the experience is going to be like, because even though my first tapes were not good and my first CDs, which are available on Bandcamp, are not very good either, at the time I was so proud of them. I like to be able to make music that I want to listen to, and I think a lot of people are in that same boat. I mean, there are teenagers just like we were teenagers that wanted to make their own music. That's right. That's it.
Yeah, if you're not, I mean, if this isn't like, if you're looking to get into recording or if you're looking to like learn how to record your own music and stuff and you don't have much experience, definitely get, a cheap $100 interface or, one of those Scarletts or something and like a 57 or a cheap microphone and just like learn EQ, learn compression, learn like all the things that you can do to alter the sound and make it be what you want, and then start moving into more expensive gear and more inputs and, larger options.
I'm at that phase right now where I'm still working on like figuring out EQing stuff and like compression and stuff, because most of what I've done has been like MIDI controller, program, cool. I don't have to do much aside from add my voice over it. Yeah, I've been working on recording guitars and trying to figure out how to get the guitar tone to sound good, how to get the bass and everything to sound good.
And there's a tremendous amount of information online if you like. That's, I mean, pretty easy to find. Like there's like set frequency ranges for all the problematic areas and, just learning how to manipulate those. Like guitars sound muddy around, 300 to 500 hertz and just, following sort of those guide maps and figuring out what areas cause the problems or the good things that you like to hear.
I think it's easier in 2020 to learn whatever you want than it's probably ever been before. So if you really want to get into recording, you can look up a million reviews for any piece of gear and, tons of tutorials on how to use it. So there's no reason not to.
One thing that the recording master didn't say that is vitally important, and you can see we're all using them, are headphones.
You want to get a decent pair of headphones that like aren't going to sound like butt.
It's not an exciting thing to buy, but it's very important.
I think that it's kind of an exciting thing to buy because when you're looking at like studio monitors, which you need eventually if you're going to be doing bigger recordings and stuff, but before that, a really good set of studio headphones will be a lifesaver.
Don't go with commercially available headphones. Don't go with headphones that are meant for like listening to music, like beats and stuff like that. Like those are going to hype the low end, and they're going to make music sound good, but you want to be able to hear what it sounds like.
I feel like once you've heard what it sounds like and you've bounced it down and like you're trying to hear what like the master sounds like, finding a pair of headphones like Beats, you are able to hear kind of what the universal sound is that most people will hear when they're listening to it, because most people listen to music on headphones these days or like really small speakers.
Well, people listen to it on everything, so definitely listen to it on everything once you're reaching the end of the mixing page and go in and, fix it. Headphones are weird. All right, so like studio headphones are usually the way to go, but for ones that are going to give you accurate representations of the mix, you're going to be spending as much as you would spend on monitors, probably. Maybe Audio Technica makes some good mixing headphones and mastering level headphones that are usually a couple $100 that aren't bad. But you will eventually need monitors, so I would almost go against the grain and say just get good monitors right off the bat. Make sure they're far away from the wall. Treat your room a little bit, because then you're going to have a better representation. Headphones, on the other hand, deliver not a lot of low end. Their stereo imaging is kind of weird. Things sound wider than they should.
This is so boring. This is so boring. I'm sorry, everyone. This is like the worst episode that we could possibly think of. Let's play a game, okay? First game. Reggie, you just got a bunch of stuff off of Amazon so that you could kind of treat your room better and make it into a cooler recording space for both your audio needs and your visual needs. Will you go through and talk about what you got and how you would rate that product on an Amazon review with like a little explanation, because they require that?
I got this like ring light thing. It's like, a light in the shape of a ring. It's for lighting. I don't know. I look all shiny, and if I turn it off, I'm not all shiny anymore. Oh crap! Where'd I go? Oh, I'm back. What up? But also, an essential part is these bad boys back here. Got a remote. I could change the color of the. Look at that. Look at that. I can be an alien if I want. Wait, there we go. Oh, it's all bright. I'm stoked about it. Yeah, that I just got. Well, I can't actually show you them because they're on the wall now. Like the soundproofing, like the stuff that's behind David's head. Those guys. I think I did it right. I don't know. I was playing my guitar in here earlier and it didn't sound like as much a butt. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. So, first item, ring light. How many stars and what do you got to say about it as a consumer?
I'll just go with 5 stars because I don't know. I've only really plugged it in today, so.
It looks good, but I don't want to say that it's 5 stars because then I feel like I come off easy.
Okay, 2 stars.
Yeah, it could be better.
Let's get fucking difficult here. 2 stars. I'll go with 2. All right, next.
Okay, so you ordered 60 feet of LED light, correct? With the sole intention of covering your room.
Well, I mostly just wanted to go around the top of the whole room. I'm going to rate these ones 1 out of 5. I mean, the lights are badass, but like putting them up, one person, that was a thing I did. Also, I'm a terrible judge of distance and stuff, so like 60 feet you think would be enough, but like I got that wall done. That's it. Now behind me looks cool, at least when I'm on this camera, as long as I don't position the camera the other way.
It looks so good. But 1 star is all that it earned.
It just gets lower every time we talk about it. 5 stars. 2.
I'm a tough critic, what can I say?
The last set of items were your diffusion panels.
That's what they're called. Yeah, those. I'll rate them. I mean, I don't know, 3, whatever. I don't know. They seem to be working. Does my voice sound as echoey as it did last week?
Not really, but I'll be
Oh,
the judge
shit.
of that in editing.
Have you tried the clap test? Did you hear a lot of like high ringy tones? Diffusion panels are meant to help with like the kind of ringing, high-end ringiness.
I couldn't really tell because I have headphones on.
Jake, you're sideways.
A lot just happened.
You look ridiculous.
Hold on, I got this. All right, we're good.
My thing won't hold the thing.
Oh yeah, I also got this dope ass webcam.
Oh, yeah. How many stars?
I'm gonna go with 5 on this one. It fucking looks great.
I'm going to give it 5 for you. You look amazing.
Yeah, I like cameras. They're cool. I want like a good camera.
I'm going to circle back to a point that I made last week about the superheroes. I was on the phone with a friend yesterday. David watched the new X-Men movie, Rise of Phoenix, or whatever.
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix, yeah.
David, how did you feel about that movie?
Oh,
It's-
come on, guys.
It's pretty
We don't need to
bad,
do
but it was
this.
like, I watched it. I didn't turn it off.
I like it.
I liked it too.
I'd say it's the worst of the X-Men movies.
I'm gonna say it's no X-Men 3
Yeah, but they're like I mean,
or that
they're
Wolverine
pretty-
movie.
It's the same story, kind of.
That Wolverine movie is awesome.
Oh, X-Men. Which one? X-Men
Logan?
Origins
Origins
or
or whatever.
There
Okay.
are 3
The
Wolverine
really-
movies.
There are
The
three
really-
Wolverine movies
the really good one.
with the bad Deadpool at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where they like cast the right person for Redpool. Oh crap.
Red.
Oh, that one.
They cast the right
Yeah.
person for Deadpool, but like did not do Deadpool right.
They did their fucking best.
I mean, it's no Spider-Man 3.
I remember hearing somewhere that they changed the ending of the most recent X-Men movie because it was too similar to Captain Marvel. And I don't feel like a better ending would have necessarily saved that movie, but
But
Yes.
it gave me a good laugh. So
Do you know what didn't make me laugh? I watched the Angelina Jolie movie, The Changeling, yesterday. Have any of you seen that?
Is that the one where like there's aliens and they change into Brad Pitt?
see, I thought it was a horror movie.
It kind of is, but not in the way that you think. It's just like compounding sadness. And sometimes I feel like movies are pretty irresponsible with how they put the sadness out there. Coco gets really sad in the last 20 minutes and it fucking wrecked me for like 2 days.
It's like the last episode of season 1 of the OC. It just kicks you in the balls over and over.
Have you talked about the OC in all of these? I think you've talked about the OC in everyone we've done.
Sorry, I like the OC.
The uck, if you will. So yeah, superhero movies.
we can all agree that they're great.
Yeah, they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all very good.
My brother
all in
reinforced that I
agreement.
should watch The Boys, though.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Yeah,
The Boys is great. Or The Boys are great.
the boys are back in town.
I was going to say that. I guess we can go back to the recording stuff for a second. What do you think are the pros and cons of having your own studio versus going to a professional studio?
I think going to a studio forces you to have your shit together and forces you to kind of push through and get it done. I think having your own studio, as great as it is to be able to just go work when you feel inspired to, it's really
Yeah.
easy to just do something else. You know?
Yeah, or like
it-
just get so frustrated that you just kind of step away from it for too long. Like, there's too much attachment there. Right?
See, I personally prefer recording myself because I'm picky and I'm really terrible at explaining the things I want, especially when it comes to like recording vocals. Because honestly, I don't really like the sound of my voice. I really don't like singing around people.
Yeah, I prefer recording myself for sure, but it definitely takes a lot longer for me.
I like having the ability to do it on my own I feel like I can get the things out better. I don't feel as rushed to be like, yeah, that's fine, cool. Like, let's just go with that one. That take was good enough. When I'm doing it myself, I'm like, no, there's like a little bit about that I didn't like. Let's do it again. Whereas, like, I probably should just when I'm in the studio with someone else be like, nah, I didn't feel great about that. Let's do it again. But like, I also kind of feel like I'm on like, I have like time constraints and stuff, and it's kind of nice to work at my own pace, which this year has been really slow.
Yeah, that's kind of. I feel the same way. When you go into a studio and you're paying hourly, you don't really have the time to like experiment and try ideas that you want to try. But then again, it's going to get like done a lot faster. It's going to be out there much quicker. If you work on it on your own, toss around ideas. If you know somebody that plays oboe, have them come over on a Tuesday. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have to
random
figure
ideas,
out how to make a fucking oboe.
yeah, well, that's part of the fun.
The thing I found with horns is I just put a mic in a room and then I just play the horn in the room in like kind of the general direction of the microphone and it sounds spoopy. I ain't trying to be no damn ska band. Shit.
I also think that there's something to be said about working with a recording engineer that you're paying to like do a live session with you or track you versus like working with a producer who will have input on how you're sounding and stuff. Like doing DIY recordings is my steez because I don't record full bands. I don't do drums or acoustic instruments ever. And I'm with Reggie where I like to be able to like go through and do my own personal modifications. But we just went to record with a friend and he's more of a producer than just a tracking engineer. And his input, I think, really boosted our album, which you all will be able to get this fall or something.
Sometime you'll get it.
That's also a really good thing about like recording with somebody else that knows what they're doing. You have another set of ears on it. There might be something that they hear that you didn't, It's the same thing with like playing with a band versus playing solo. You're like, oh, cool. I got all these parts, but then like someone else comes along and they're like, oh, check this out. And it's like, holy shit, why didn't I think of that?
A good engineer or a good producer will sit down and discuss boundaries with you too. They'll talk about what kind of input is too far and like what type of things you want them to be able to voice up on.
What things you can eat at lunch, like peanut allergies and stuff.
I've always enjoyed recording with Rick Johnson up in Grand Rapids in Cold War Studios because Cherry Street Deli's right across the street. Oh, man, their sandwiches are awesome. Also, Rick does a really good job.
Yeah, Rick is a good
Which is
engineer.
secondary to the sandwiches.
Oh, man, if you've had those sandwiches, holy crap. I'm just saying.
So, okay, I guess that, like, one point that I would want to make in favor of DIY recordings is if you're a band or a performer that wants to go on tour, you should always have some type of merch and some type of thing for people to take away that they can like listen to your music later. And sometimes going to a recording studio isn't really in the cards. So being able to do an at-home recording and just have some burn discs to give away for free will like boost your presence in the towns that you stop in. With all that being said, what movies do you guys think actually show what being a musician is like in a realistic fashion?
Y'all ever watch The Green Room?
I was going to say, I haven't seen The Green Room yet, but so many people have watched that movie and then reached out to me afterwards to just ask how things are going.
Oh, man, yeah, if you've ever played a really, really shitty show, like, I guarantee it's not nearly as bad as that.
Okay. I'll have to watch it. But I'm afraid too, because, like, I tour by myself sometimes. I don't want to watch anything that's going to fucking keep me from sleeping at night.
I'm going to throw Airheads in the mix. I don't think that it's, like, super realistic that there would be a hostage situation by a bunch of metalheads, but at the same time, you know, when you really want people to hear your music, you'll like, have you guys seen Airheads?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Airheads is fucking great.
I mean, wasn't it like a miscommunication anyway? Like, they weren't trying to I know they
I think they were
were.
just trying to get the. No, they definitely, because they showed up with those fake guns and stuff.
That was when Brendan Fraser was still good looking.
Doom Patrol's kind of rough, but
Doom
still
Patrol.
happy he's doing stuff.
I don't know. I like his fashion in Doom Patrol.
I mean, he was in Quiet American. That's one of my favorite. I love that movie. That's a good movie.
He was in Encino Man.
He was
Encino
in
Man.
Blast from the Past. That was a good movie.
I loved his fashion in Encino Man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Jake on that. Also, Blast from the Past. Blast from the Past is the name of that movie. I was trying to think of that like months ago at work.
I can't think of any movies I've seen that have had any kind of like accurate representation of what it's like to be in a band. Maybe aspects of that thing you do.
Y'all watch Lords of Chaos?
Yeah, that movie's great.
I haven't seen it.
I
It's
mean,
really dark.
It's a biopic.
I'm going to say Yesterday is semi-realistic.
Except Ed Sheeran when he's recording the songs. Hey Jude, I don't know if that. How about we change it to Hey Dude?
Wasn't Hey Dude a Nickelodeon show?
Yeah, and it was great. Oh man, I remember the theme to that. That was such a good, yeah.
Sing it.
It's a little wild and it's a little strange, living life down on the range. Yeah, that was a good show.
oh man, I forgot about that show. That show was great.
I loved Pete and Pete as a kid, and it was difficult to rewatch as an adult.
I
mean, it's
still love
good,
that
it's just-
show.
I love Pete and Pete. Its opening song is like one of the greatest songs ever written.
Polaris.
Ay, 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 ay. With like the delay that's going on, I sound exactly like
that was
Polaris.
very interesting. With that.
I'm going to keep that part of the audio in. Many moons ago, someone asked me if I wanted a longboard, and I told them when I was a kid I always wanted one, but I'm too old now, so I don't. And wouldn't you know it, they bought me a longboard. So eventually I was like, this is just taking up space, and I gave it to Reggie, and the first thing that I said was, just don't ride this down Wheaton. And that day... You hurt your wrist so bad.
It probably would have never happened had you not said that.
Then I had to play Killer's bass parts with 2 fingers because my hand was all messed up, and that was, I mean, I did it.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
And I have the longboard back now. I think we covered a lot of ground in tonight's episode. We were talking for a little while. So before we wrap this up, I just want to thank everybody for listening to us ramble on about DIY recording spaces and I guess whatever else we felt like talking about. Before we sign off tonight, we're going to go round robin style and give some unsolicited advice.
Don't order Taco Bell on Grubhub. That's like, you're going to pay $30 for diarrhea, dude. You could just go to Taco Bell and pay like the normal price for diarrhea.
Keep some tools in your car. You might need them.
If you hang a hook next to your door and remember to always put your keys on it, you won't lose your keys as often.
Thank you for taking the time to give us a chance today. If you want to hear specific things from us, ask us questions or advice, you can email us at katyneedsalife@outlook.com. My advice, it's the same every week. Be rad, stay cool, and always do the right thing. We all make mistakes, and that's chill. We hope you all have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye!
Bye.
Smash that subscribe.
Smash that subscribe.
Like and subscribe and comment and tell us how you feel about this week's episode.
Smash that subscribe.